Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Marcus. Please go to ProPhotoEdits.com. We can download my Lightroom presets and Photoshop actions. And please subscribe to the channel because in the next 30 days, I'm going to have my online full tutorial of how to get epic studio lighting and really bring depth to your images, inside or outside. I'm going to show you all my tricks. We're going to do the run through. It's very inexpensive stuff that you'll need to use. And then we're going to edit the whole series together so you have start to finish how to take your portraits to the next level. All right, so let's get into this review. Alright guys, let's get into this review. This is just a review of the 110 f2 versus the 80mm 1.7 that you guys have been asking me for, and I'm just recording this with the GoPro right now, and this is my RF 85 1.2. I took some shots with it as well, but that's not in this review. So what you're seeing right now was what you're going to see at the end of this video. This is the backlit shots, and these are my favorite shots, but we started in the shade just to give you guys some just some more looks before the sun got nice and low. So I'm just going to light these with the reflector and watch these shots at the end. But first I wanted to get into giving you some through the lens footage so I can show you how slow the 80mm is in comparison to the 110. So you're looking at the 110 right now, and as you can see, it acquires focus relatively quickly. Boom, snap, got it. As soon as you see the green square light up, it's acquired focus, and the camera blacks out, takes the exposure, you got it. This is a pretty snappy lens. I really, have no faults with it. And focus, got it. All the way out of focus to in focus transition is pretty quick. I didn't miss any shots on this day with that lens. Now with the 1.7, there you go. It's that hunt, hesitation, hunt. It's like right there, there's a hesitation after you see the camera stop moving, and then it lights up green, hunt, hesitation, got it. Now 1.7, when you're doing that much hesitating at the end of your shot selection, you're going to miss some shots just because the model might move right after it acquires focus before it actually takes the shot. Okay guys, so let's actually look at some of these files. Now none of these files are going to be edited, no presets, anything like that. I want you guys to see exactly just how they render, the colors and everything. I'm also going to put raw files in the description below so you can download these and check them out for yourself. I'm going to shoot these mid-body, close-up, full body in a bunch of different locations, all natural light, using a reflector at times. And then also what I'm going to do is stop down on both lenses and just talk about what I like and what I don't like. Again, I have no preference either way. They both are different tools here, but I will give you my thoughts. So alright, this is the 80 1.7 wide open right here, and on the 50R, and this go in on this file, and then I'll do it side by side with the 110 at f2. Really sharp. It nailed the eyes right there. There's a lot of detail in the face. Again, that's like a little bit longer than a mid-body shot. The comparison shot is here on the 110 at f2, and you can see we lost that side of the street. It's more of a straight up portrait shot to me, and I'm not gonna bore you guys with the resolution on these lenses. You know that they're both really sharp. 80 kind of has a little bit more character but has less compression. So if we take these two side by side, okay, the 1 stars are the 80 by the way, and the 2 stars are the 110, so depending on which side we're looking at here. Lightroom's always a little bit funny about resolving these until it decides it wants to do what it's supposed to do. So yeah, I mean, they're both really sharp, but this is just more of a comparison of what you get in the frame. You lost a little bit of the street here. I'm damn near perfect with the way I cropped on the leg and the amount of space above the head. You get a little bit more of a background here. It's not incredibly different. If I crop this, I think this is a little prettier to me. I mean, minus the whole car and everything. Just as far as what I'm used to seeing in the portrait world. On the right here, we have the 110. On the left here, we have the 80 1.7. Both of these are wide open, f2 1.7, and this is another little bit of closer crop. I'm not trying to wow anybody with any of these photos because this is a lens review, and I was also shooting with the RF 1.2. So tune in next week and I'll compare it with that on the Canon R5. So I wasn't doing like really cool angles or anything like that. I was just trying to get a review in here for you guys to see how these lenses compare. So I don't know, again, dreamy. The fall off right here, as you can see, is nicer on the 81.7. I guess it falls off quicker, I should say. You know, it's a lot shallower depth of field, and not so much on the 110. But I'm just used to seeing this type of rendering on the 110 for portraits. You know, kind of melting the background, compressing the background instead of melting it, and making the subject appear a little bit tighter. I don't know, that's just what I'm used to seeing. I think the 80 is going to be more of an inside boudoir lens for me. Alright, so 110 here on the right and then 80 on the left. Now these are photos that I usually wouldn't frame like this. They're pretty boring, but I just wanted to show you without the backlit photos coming up, the close-ups. This is about what you get closest focusing on the 80, closest on the 110, and the 110, it appears to be filling the frame more because of the compression. And a lot of people say that 80 millimeters should give you a less compressed face, which it does, but that's not always, to me, what you want. And we'll look through some of that in a minute, and I'll show you what I think its strengths are and some of the better shots I took with the 80, learning its focal length. Because it doesn't compress the features as much as the 110 does, but I think I mean, she has dainty features, you know, she's got pretty small childlike features, so even with the 80 up close, it's kind of pulling the face a little bit instead of compressing it, and I don't feel like the 110 compresses too much. So I don't know, it's your call, but I would take this photo over that one if I had to pick. Alright, so for just a real boring full body comparison, and you can download these and check them out, I would never really take this shot. It's very boring. We're just hanging out in the shade and you know, waiting for the sun to get a little bit lower. So you can see that she's a little bit flatter on the 110, just kind of compressed into there, and this one she's actually, you know, appearing to pull out of the frame just a little bit, you know. Again, reminiscent of the 58. More of the tree here. You just have more background. There's no tree over here. They're both boring shots. Yeah, a lot of people ask for these, and we'll look at a couple more full bodies here in a second. Stop them down a little bit, but the background, let's zoom in here. I mean, there's not a very much difference, honestly. I mean, you're getting more compression over here. You're getting a little bit more bokeh on this side. I mean, there's not a ton to talk about there, I don't think. So now I get in closer with the 80 and close with the the 110 on this side, and this is where we get into this features thing again. I feel like her nose is being pulled a little bit, and she doesn't have a big nose at all. It's a short nose. A little bit too much with the 80 at this point. I love this fall off. That's really beautiful. And we'll see that in the backlit shots too. But this just looks like more of a professional photo to me. I'm just used to that look, guys. We can go over here and I'll show you the 110. It looks kind of epic. It's one of the best lenses I've ever used, and not to say the 80 is bad. It's a really great lens. It's just, it has different strengths. Alright, so one more look at these, and I'm just going to do one more shot, and then we'll move on to the next batch where we stop down a little bit and then get into the backlit stuff. So 80, 1.7 here on the right, 1 star, and the 110 on the left. So I think, like, for framing wise, this is what I'd use the 80 for. I'd pick this framing over the 110. You can see the hands going out of focus right here. It gets really soft. The shoulders nice and soft. You're not so close that it's pulling the face in, you know, for most women. And the nice fall off right back here. Everything's nice and you know, just dreamy. The hair is kind of dreamy here on the sides. This is kind of flat. It's not a bad photo by any stretch. It's nothing that I would use, but it's just a review. I just mean, like, as far as like being flat, There's no dimension there at all. So this is kind of the situation where the 80 shines. Okay, so now let's look at some of these stop down a touch. Let's look at the 80 1.7, and we're at 2.2 right now. So it's going to give you a little bit of a stop down effect. And I'm going to go into these files here, and you can pixel peep them for yourself. So this is really sharp. I mean, it's sharp at 1.7 when it can hit. And then I'll go into the 110 file, and then I'll show you these side by side, and you know, super sharp. The 110 is always really sharp. So if I compare both of these real quick, download these and check them out for yourself. This is 1 star. This is the 80 1.7. As you can see, there's more background going on right here. This is actually, you know, compressing some of this out a little bit. They're both sharp. They're both really sharp. 110 is obviously a faster focusing lens. This photo is nothing to write home about, but I kind of prefer this here just because there's a little bit more context as what's going on. Alright guys, so let's get into some of these 110 shots with the backlight and the 80 shots with the backlight. This is generally what I do when I shoot outdoors. I wait for the light to be right, and I use a reflector. Sometimes I'll strobe just a little bit, because I don't like the whole super strobed out look. And then I edit, but I'm not going to edit any of these other than just pulling up the exposure a little bit. You can play with the raw files if you want. So this is how I typically shoot the 110. I just think it works well for this, and I'll show you in relation to the 80 in a second. So mid-body shot right here, you can get a little bit closer, and this is how I'd use the 110. The 110 is always super crisp. It does have nice fall off. I mean, look at that hair. It has very nice compression. It's not starting like on the face the way that the 80 will be. That compression looks nice to me. We'll compare it in a second. Another 110 shot. All right, so let's go to an 80 shot. And now another 80 shot, and then I'll compare them side by side. And I actually think that the 80 in this type of scenario, not comparing it one to the other, because you know, a great photographer, if I was on a real photo shoot here, I would have got some really great shots, because I wouldn't have been switching lenses. I would have picked one and just worked on getting the vibe and the framing and everything right. But this is a comparison. So I would just say a great photographer would take great pictures with either one of these lenses, as long as the 80 is not stuttering and stuff like that. But let's look at the fall off. You can see that eye is sharp. Now we're at 1.7 right now, and we'll stop down again in a minute for everybody who requested that. Let's just look at this back eye. The back eye is already fading. The hair is gone, really pretty. You're getting this side of the chin that we just didn't see on the 110 falling off, and very pretty. It's pulling their nose out a little bit, as we talked about earlier. It's not something that I generally like, but it has character. It does have character. I mean, I guess I would say less contrasty. I think it's kind of nice. It's warm. You know, I'm using a reflector, so that's helping out a little bit. And let's go back here to the 110 shot, and you can see a little more flat. It's still a pretty rendering. And then let's go here, and I'll let you look at them side by side, and then we'll move on to, let me find one I think is probably framed really similarly right there. Okay, so this is good. This is a good comparison, I guess. The 110 right here, 2 stars, the 80 on this side. And of course, when we're in comparison mode, it doesn't give you the whole resolution we just looked at. It takes forever. This is a new M1 MacBook, and Lightroom hasn't updated for this. Okay, we're getting closer there. The 80 on this side is really sharp at 1.7. The 110 on this side is really sharp. Which one's sharper? I would say the 110, but you can see that the eyebrow here, and I'm giving you guys a bunch of detail you might not care about, it's softer. So it's already losing focus right here whenever this is still relatively sharp and contrasty. I like the compression on the face right here. This is beautiful. I could have got this shot to look even better than this had I been just using the 81.7 and concentrating on what I was doing as far as directing the model and everything. But she's a model and she likes to move, so you know, I'm just trying to follow her lead for this. Is there a reason to own both for this? No, absolutely not. But I don't like the stretching of the features right here, and I haven't put any type of lens profile corrections on here. I'm not even sure if Lightroom has those yet for the 80, but I just feel like it's pulling her face a little bit too much there, and I like this look a little better, but I do like the fall off on this lens better. So on to the next series. So without comparing to the f2 right here, I just want to show you where I think at what distance the 80 really shines, and I think this is it. I think here, let me pull the exposure up a bit more on this. I think it's right here, you know, for me. You're still getting a bunch of a fall off here in the hair. This side of the face is nice and soft. Once it resolves, yeah, this eye is sharp, and yes, that's wide open at 1.7. Backlit, it's nice, it's pretty, everything's going out of focus. You're not so close that you're getting too much distortion. I could have maybe got 8 inches closer and got a little bit more fall off, but this I think is kind of where you're missing the distortion aspect of 80 up close, and some people don't mind it. Okay, so here we go, we're getting closer now. Let's see if we hit this shot. I did. Hey, I hit it at 1.7 on the 80. There you go. Good job. This is cool. Okay, so this isn't apples to apples, but I mean it's never going to be apples to apples. The real people moving around. This is the 110. This is the 80. What do you think? It's your call. It makes no difference to me at all. This is a bit more flat. This is a bit more lively. I would take the 80 right here. So I think this is really cool, and I'm gonna bring the exposure up a little bit here. I didn't actually shoot this with the 110. I thought I did, and I didn't. People are gonna be pissed off about that, I bet. But I have more background shots with the 110 and the 80 full body over here. But I think this is an area where the 80, you can see how it washes out too a little bit with the sun. This is an area where the 80 looks good. If you find a background where you want some of it not so compressed, you want some of the buildings, you want a little bit more of the 3D look instead of the flattened out, just imposed image. And that's super hazy. I had the lens cap on and everything. I'm sorry, I had the lens cap. I had the lens cap on while I was taking these photos. This is why they suck. Now I had the lens hood on while I was taking this to, you know, block a little bit of the flare, but I don't mind it. I was too far away to use the reflector. It wouldn't have done anything. Like if I would have had a third party there, they could have done it for me, but I didn't. So I think this is a pretty beautiful rendering of this bokeh, and I'll give you this raw file too so you can download it. Very pretty bokeh. So I want to get into just a few of these where I think the 80 shines, and this is a really cool shot. I'll pull it up a little bit. I'm obviously using the reflector, but I'll show you when you hit focus. Let's go in. That's sharp, and that's at 1.7, y'all. That's really sharp. You can actually see me holding the reflector, shooting right above it in her eyes. Really pretty rendering. Look at the fall off back here. Is there chromatic aberration? Yeah, man, I don't care about stuff like that. I'm a portrait shooter. You can see some stuff coming through the hair. I'm used to this on pretty much every lens. It's easily correctable, and sometimes I don't even mess with it. Where else would we see it besides the hair? Now on the bokeh right there, I mean, it doesn't bother me. It might bother you if you're super technical, but this is some of the trade-offs of having a little bit of character versus having not much. So just look at the way it flares. Now I wanted you guys to see this. The flare is kind of weird. It reminds me of the 35 1.4 L2 that I have for Canon, as it leaves like a dot every now and then, which I do not like, instead of just leaving like a diffuse circle. And I don't think I hit that shot. It focused like right there on the cheek, which happens a lot with this lens. Let's go to here and see. Yeah, and then see this little weird area right here on the face. That is another reflection flare type deal that this lens has. Weird. You know, some lenses do flare out a little bit different than others, and I don't know, I've kind of fell in love with the way certain ones do and certain ones don't. My 35 1.4 L2 I don't like at all. It always has that dot that lands somewhere in somebody's face, and this one does too. But it's not always a dot. Sometimes it changes shapes, and it's not just that big bloomy circle that you'll get this kind of hazy. Some people never shoot like this, but I do. I shoot like this a lot, so that's kind of important to me. But I'll tell you that this is an excellent rendering right here as far as just like the fall off goes. Still sharp. You can see right there in her eye. I'm always looking at the shoulders. Like if I would have spent more time with her, posing her right here, it's probably too much information, but I would have had her, you know, put one shoulder back just a touch so you can even get more of that. It would have been this shoulder, more of the actual illusion of, you know, the 3D effect. The farther you can put something back in the frame, the more it looks like, wow, that lens has super fall off, which this one does actually without even trying. All right, and then we'll go through some of these and we'll start to compare again. Okay, so I'm back down to f2 right now, just to show you a f2 on this lens versus f2 on the 110, and I'll put them side by side. Plenty sharp. I mean, it's really sharp, but it's a nice, beautiful rendering. Her hand right here, totally out of focus. It's not squished. Again, this is the I think about the framing that I think works really well on the 80. Okay, so let's go to f2 on the 110. Getting kind of boring, right? I mean, I wouldn't have shot like this with the 110 unless, you know, I was just comparing these identical shots for you guys. I would have found a more reasonable way to frame this to get something in the shot. But let's look at these side by side. Which one was it? Right here. And then you can tell me at f2, 80 wins here. I mean, there's more story to be told right here. It's just a better shot. Doesn't mean it's a better lens, but that's definitely the way I would use this lens. It feels closer, more intimate. The pose is better, of course, but it's just a better shot. You can see the buildings here. You get a little bit of the skyline. It's not just a sea of gray and fence. Alright, so let's get into some of the moments you guys have been waiting for. The closer up shots, backlit. This is the 110 at f2. I really like this lens close up for the compression purposes. Let me raise the exposure on this. It's a beautiful shot. There's not a lot going on. It's a headshot, you know. That's a pretty good headshot lens. And then we'll go here and then I'll show them side by side. That's a nice pose. She's kind of angling her body a little bit. And then, I mean, I don't have to show you, it's sharp as hell. And then we'll go over here and I'll show you some of these 80s and then we'll compare them. Beautiful. I mean, when you get the right angle, you have to be kind of specific about it on the 80, I found. It has more character. This is going out of focus. You're seeing more in the frame. It's nice and soft. So, I mean, my goodness. The light's better on this shot, of course, because the reflector was at an angle where I could hit her face a little bit better. But on the 81.7, let me see if I can pick this photo and see if I have something that's angled a little bit better on that side. That's the one that's a little bit missed a little bit. And that's the issue that I'm dealing with right now, is the issue that I don't want to have to deal with on a lens. Missing shots, because I'm missing shots. I don't really miss shots that much. I haven't missed any with the 110 so far, as you've seen, and I've missed, you know, 5 or 6 of these. And I know that shooting at 1.7 is kind of dangerous, you know, but it is a 1.7. And I'll stop down again here in a second for you guys. So similar, I mean, I would still go with the 110 for that, you know, just because of the angle. That's a better comparison, I guess. About the same framing. Face looks a little bit rounder here. I'm not sure that she'd appreciate that. She'd probably go for this. But if I was using this lens not as a comparison lens, but just showing its strength, I would have shot it a little bit different, chose a different angle. This is the 80. This is the 110. And somebody asked me how far back I had to be to get the same shot. I did have to go about 8 or 9 feet back. You can actually see the 80 sitting here on the ground in this photo. So working distance with the 110, you know, on a shot like this, you're back kind of far. Alright, so over here we have the 80 at 1.7, and then over here we have the 80 at 2.5. It's negligible at this. I guess you can see this car back here is a little bit more in focus, and it's a little bit blurry. I didn't stop down much further than that because it's just not how I shoot in this type of scenario. But it still has nice bokeh at 2.5. Stop signs still looking pretty nice to see. If there's any specular highlights back here that we could actually, or things that are round. She's blocking it, but those are still nice and round. Over here on the edge, this is a bit of a cat eye, but you never know what type of light that was. Over here, it's nice and round, stop down to 2.5. So, I mean, it still has a little bit of, at 2.5, it still has a nice 3D look to it, to me. And then let's just replace this with, alright, this is 2.5 on this side, on the 80. This is the 110 at f2. So yeah, I actually don't really like this shot at all because there's no context. It's just a building in the background. Just can't even see the skyline. And then this shot is cool. Not exposed exactly right, but you can get the idea. So this is what I think the strength of the 110 is, you know, besides it just being a fast focusing lens. This type of look. This is like a print advertisement type of look. You know, you see this on the wall, like one of the clothing stores or something like that. Something they'd run. It's kind of you alone with the subject, and you're really selling something there. To me, I mean, you may see something totally different, like you're crazy. But the 81.7, it has more of an organic, open type of look. You know, super dreamy. Look how incredibly smooth and shallow that is. This, the fall off is super nice. This giving you a really nice depth of field here, but it's not the flattened out look that we're used to seeing from like ads. I'm used to seeing from ads and stuff like that, like this. You know, I picture this being on the wall in a clothing store, as I've said. And with the 80, this is really beautiful. It's a nice lens to have. I'm not returning mine. I just need to upgrade my body to a 100S. But this look is beautiful. This is more like I would picture like a bride, you know, having this type of lighting. Good luck catching the bride in focus with 1.7 with the 80 on a 50R or 50S. But that's the look that I'm getting from this more intimate, super nice fall off there, not the flat look. And this to me looks more like an ad campaign. So the thing that I couldn't really do, wrapping this whole thing up, is these are all shots with the 110. And why I'm showing you these is just at the end we were losing light, and I was just, you know, doing what I do on photo shoots, just being creative. Move your hair around, just get a couple angles. And I like, when I have the 110 a lot, I do these type of shots. I'll shoot up a little bit, just get something that's unique. And could I have gotten this shot with the 80? Of course I could have. I didn't want to, because it was frustrating me, because I wouldn't trusted it, you know. And sometimes you have models, subjects, whoever, that are moving around a little bit much, you know. That's who they are, and I don't try to stop them from doing that, because I want them to be confident and have a great photo shoot. So then I reach for the 110, because I'm just hitting shots. I'm hitting shots, even on the slow 50R. That's the thing I would say about the 80 1.7. And conclusion here is, it's slow. It's too slow for the 50 series, I believe. We'll see what it looks like on the 100S when I get it, as far as focusing speed. But I mean, it's just going to make the 110 faster as well, you know. But as long as it's faster and accurate and I can live with it, as far as just taking shots. And I'll just show you how these shots looked in camera, because I was recording how fast I was actually taking them. We were just losing light. And of course I was switching back and forth with the RF 1.2 85, which I'll put up in a week or so to show you what the difference is in the 85 full frame fast lens and these champion lenses on GFX system, if anybody's interested in that. But what do you guys think? Leave your comments down below. This has been a big review, I guess. And download these raw files, pixel peep them, and then from here on out I'm just going to use the 80 for what I think is best at, and the 110 for what I think is best at, so you know, I can get back to being creative and doing what I do. But I love you guys. Until next time, it's Marcus. See you later.